So I was thinking about interactions I've had with people, and it's very interesting. I want to talk about sensitivity today. So being sensitive is not a bad thing. Being oversensitive is. And a lot of people understand the difference. They want to say that being sensitive is being oversensitive. Not the case. When you're sensitive, it means that you are in tune with other people's emotions and feelings. It also means you can read the room pretty well, too. When you're being sensitive, it means you're not trying to offend somebody. I've known a lot of good people who said a lot of insensitive things, whether they meant to or not. And the impact that has on people is very different. Someone who's not used to that could look at it as, okay, that person's having a bad day. Or it's a little deeper. If they're used to that person being that way, then it could stem from something a lot deeper. And therefore, the reactions that they get from it are a lot more heartfelt and a lot more um, painful. I've known many women who struggle with being sensitive. And I'm talking about sensitive as in the term of being polite in a conversation. Like, there have been times when I've seen somebody or I have spoken our minds to a girl or girls, it's been plural before. And the responses we've been getting weren't natural. Like, they weren't what you would expect. So when you put your heart out or you explain how something happened that concerns you, that made you unhappy or whatever, I've had girls listen to me and describe it as a rant. Okay, first of all, a rant is when you're hyper actively passionate about something. Okay, that really ticked you off or something. If you are calmly explaining to a person the cause and effect of your day, that's not a rant. That is a controlled environment where they're simply explaining to you how their day went and how something in their day made them feel something. So again, a rant is when somebody is usually very aggressive and describing a certain part of the day or a memory that they have. That's a rant. And it goes on. So as a man, I never understood it when a woman called a rant something that wasn't a rant. Okay? That is not how you communicate to somebody. The other way of being insensitive is when you downplay someone's feelings or emotions when they're being honest with you. Or when they come to you about something that they're excited about and you downplay their ideas or um, you mock it, you know, or it's not the way your brain thinks, so you're not very in tune with the way they're thinking or their problem solving, and so you act more condescending about how you would have solved it or how you would have done something, making it about yourself. So that's what guys that I've known do. When it comes to women, though, it's insensitive in a way that you start to wonder if they are capable of being sensitive because it happens so often. Um, you explain something to a girl, and you're talking about how the action made you feel that day, and you're just trying to process it and get it out, and you're talking to her about it, and she responds with okay, okay, or I get it, and it's just like, well, I'm not really feeling like you understand. Like, I know you can get the whole concept, but you're making it sound like I'm repeating myself, or it's not something to be upset about, or it's not what you want to hear, and it comes off as very insensitive, and that happens a lot with women, a lot. Well, they don't want to hear how your day is going or what you're dealing with, even though they ask how you're doing. Or if you just decide, I gotta talk to somebody, I want to talk to this person, I feel safe talking to this person, and then you find out, oh, I can't talk to this person because of how they respond. And so it shuts down the communication, it shuts down the friendship for a good while because you just feel like you're talking to a brick of ice that doesn't freaking care. So, insensitivity is a very common and normal thing these days that usually wasn't, like, 20 something years ago. I mean, I grew up with women being sensitive. I grew up with the girls I was around were sensitive people who really watched what they said until junior high and high school. That's when things changed. They weren't very sensitive, they weren't very open. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it's a parenting style or if it's a society thing. I have no clue. I just know that women changed. They're no longer sensitive people when I encounter them. So, guys are more sympathetic, they're more sensitive, but it depends on the guy. Um, and generation, too. But again, I've had different experiences with Gen X men than most people. Um, they're not men that I would consider manly. They're not men I consider I could talk to, you know. Um, so I haven't had a good male influence, except for my dad. But it's an issue when it comes to trying to find somebody who actually understands you and gets you, and likes to hear your ideas and hear you talk. Um, I don't know what it is about this whole insensitivity thing, but it's really rampant these days. Like, no one cares to be sensitive. I even asked girls that I had trouble with. I said, "And you don't think that what you just said was insensitive?" And they would respond, "Well, no." Well, then that's a problem with you. Your people skills, your social skills, they suck. You as a person suck because you don't have sympathy, empathy, or even common sense to understand when to be sensitive. There are sensitive topics for a reason. If you don't deal with those situations sensitively, what happens? Something bad. It's no different than when you're trying to disarm a bomb. It takes patience, it takes a certain know how to do that. And instead, you just decide to be rough with the bomb, and it blows up. Well, who's at fault? You or the bomb? It's your approach to the bomb. That was the problem. Same thing with talking to people. Same thing. If you don't have the right approach or you're not sensitive to somebody else's feelings, you could get a huge problem. Guys, guys don't have this problem with guys. Reason being, we don't believe anything the guy says. Typically, that's where it comes in with the whole guy humor. The guy's usually either lying, making a joke, or making a point with an extreme. It's not how they actually feel. We can discern pretty well how a guy's speaking if it's a joke or whatnot. With women, you're trying to be more sensitive to them and try to be more open because you want that communication. You want that structure set. You want that foundation for your friendship, relationship, whatever. And it's usually the woman that betrays that trust. Typically. Guys just having fun is just guys having fun. They don't take things seriously. They don't take things personally. When a girl chooses to respond in a very insensitive way, yeah, it feels very personal. Especially if it's a situation where, you're really deeply hurt about something and they couldn't care less. That's a problem. That's not a friend. That's not somebody you want to ever talk to again. So I thought it was important to talk about sensitivity because there's a difference between insensitive and obviously being sensitive, but it comes down to more than just the way guys think is something sensitive is oversensitive, especially if it regards a female or a situation. That's the default response to most guys. But if they're actually there in it, witnessing it, or they see somebody deeply hurt, they tend to have more sympathy than women do. Either it's a conversation or what. It doesn't matter. But guys have a hard time being sensitive when it can be used against them or when they feel like it's a trap, which is why they're more easier to talk to with other guys than when you get a female in the mix. Because then the trust is no longer the bro code, it's whatever this woman deems it to be. She's in control of if she's going to break the trust or not. Versus guys, it's, I trust you, here's the information. Or they just don't talk at all, which is very common. So, some guys do see sensitivity as, oversensitive. Don't know why, but they do. Some don't understand moderate. They don't understand that sensitivity is just moderate. They see it as one extreme or the other extreme. Either you're too sensitive, you're not sensitive enough, or whatever. But in my experience, thinking about today, there's a lot of reasons why guys don't feel safe talking to women. And that being one of them. They don't feel that the woman will be sensitive enough to their feelings and that they will then use it against them. So, what you have is a sensitivity problem, which is why I felt it should be addressed, at least in my experience. As for the whole rant thing, that is very, very complex. I don't know why they decided to misuse that word to downplay someone else's emotions or feelings, but they do. They call it a rant. They call everything a rant. Guys don't rant. That's what girls do. Guys will give you, so this is the situation and this is the solution I found. That's the way they do things. This was the cause, this is the effect. That kind of thing. They don't go on this long, tedious rant where they're constantly repeat themselves and they get all hyped up and they're very passionate and angry. They don't do that. Not typically. I mean, they will if something really ticked them off, but once it's out of the system, it's out of the system. And it doesn't take much either. It's just they express their frustration with it and then they move on. Women don't do that. That's why it's a rant thing, okay? For a woman to do it. A man's just talking. Just trying to get the whole situation out there. Talk about everything that went with it. That's all. As long as it's in a civilized manner, it's not a rant. So, yeah. I don't know why they misuse words. I don't know why they create new ones. I don't know why they look for problems when a guy's just simply talking, but they do. I don't get it. Everybody can be insensitive at some point, yeah. But is it a pattern in their behavior, or is it just something happened recently? So, could be the person's changed from being someone who was sensitive to someone who's no longer sensitive. Who knows? But definitely be aware of it. Be aware if you do it. Be aware how often you do it. Because it's important to have good tactics when talking to people. It's important that you understand respect as you're talking to somebody. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents today. Because got a video coming out tomorrow for Christmas, so tune into that. See you around.